Hey, it's Anthony from TBN here, and in today's video, I'll help answer the question, should you play Pokemon Legends Arceus? When it comes to traditional Pokemon games, I don't think we've ever seen as big of a formula change as this. Fans have been demanding a grand-scale, open-world styled adventure for how many years now? And the release timing makes perfect sense, due to the massive popularity of titles like Horizon Zero Dawn and Breath of the Wild. While Pokemon Legends Arceus does contain some really cool features, and obvious inspirations from the latest mainline Zelda, the overall experience sometimes feels like a 2 steps forward, 1 step back scenario. Let me explain. You guys already know how most of these games begin. Pick your starter, learn the new mechanics, and venture off into the sunset. Bada bing, bada boom. Whereas this time, the notable changes come in the form of catching and battling Pokemon, as well as the general presentation itself. Starting off with catching, the way it's done here is heaps more entertaining than past entries in the series. Players can use all sorts of items outside of combat, like berries and projectiles, to influence a Pokemon's behavior, or make themselves less visible for an easier catch by hiding in the grass or shrouding themselves with a smoke bomb. Since the field work is all done in real time, there's an exciting sense of urgency when you're creeping behind a Pokemon's back, especially for the rarer types like the Alpha variants. Because if they end up spotting the player character, catching them instantly becomes trickier to deal with. You'll most likely either have to try and fight and catch them the traditional way, or quickly approach and throw an item. However, some Pokemon cannot be caught when they feel threatened, aka the better Pokemon, of course. I quite like this wildlife aspect though, since it makes the Hisui region feel so full of life, giving you the urge to keep exploring, harvesting materials, and studying Pokemon to see how they interact with the player and the world itself. It's not as in-depth as, say, Monster Hunter, for instance, and the graphics aren't the greatest we've ever seen on the system, not by a long shot, but there is something so compelling about seeing these pocket monsters in action. It's a similar feeling I got with Pokemon Snap, except only better. Alright, that was an unfair comparison there. In regards to the battle system, there is one significant change that legitimately makes a difference. And I'm not talking about the real-time interactions in combat or how you can get an extra turn if you smack a wild Pokemon on the back. No, I'm actually referring to the agile and strong style attacks. These are a game changer for the series, no doubt, and it's as clear as day that Final Fantasy X's CTB gauge was a major influence here. But hey, if you're gonna steal something, it might as well be good, right? Okay, it's obviously not a blatant rip-off, although it does make a huge impact in battle. For example, let's say you try out an attack in Agile style, which does what the name implies, and gets a Pokemon down to just over half health. If you receive another turn, you could easily take them out with a strong style attack without taking any damage. Or, you could immediately one-shot your opponent to KO stats with a super effective aerial ace in strong style. Or, you could even use agile style to cast a status effect first and then proceed with an assault. Goodness gracious, the possibilities are endless. I love it. Even though it uses double the amount of power points, who would have thought that one teensy tiny change like this could have resulted in a whole new world of strategy? Well, not me, that's for sure. I'm also a big advocate for how evolutions and abilities are handled mechanics-wise. Rather than the age-old prompt saying, should an old move be forgotten and replaced with insert move here? The game simply pulls all of your learnt abilities together and lets you swap them out as many times as you like in the pause menu. A similar approach is taken for evolutions as well. During the adventure, it doesn't just suddenly spring these decisions on you at a fixed level. Instead, it's up to the player's choice whether they decide to evolve their Pokemon or not after the requirements are reached. Fans of the franchise will definitely appreciate these mechanics. If you're enjoying this video so far, definitely make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss any of our upcoming reviews, and check back tomorrow for our tips and tricks guide to Pokemon Legends Arceus. Another aspect I kind of liked, but not really, was how nearby wild Pokemon could join in the fight and gang up on the player if the battle was initiated in their movement zone thing, whatever you want to call it. And since there can only be one active party member at a time, it's quite easy to get outnumbered. However, the only problem is that there's no actual incentive to do so, as it's almost always better to just run away and return to fight 1v1 when everything's calmed down. Unfortunately, the same issue happens in some of the scripted fights. You'll occasionally have to go up against 3 Pokemon at once for no particular reason, and it just sucks, full stop. The devs clearly tried to alleviate this by making the Pokemon randomly stare into space at times, but let's be honest, it's nigh impossible to form a solid strategy when you're constantly getting belted with attacks. Anyway, let's take a look at some other gameplay features because there is plenty of stuff going on here. Where do I even start? How about the main thread of Pokemon Legends Arceus, the survey reports? Throughout the course of the game, said reports will guide the player on what to look for in specific Pokemon, like getting it to eat food, scaring it off with a Scatterbang, defeating one with a specific type of ability, catching a smaller sized version, and so on and so forth. It is pretty amusing at first, however, it does start to get repetitive once you realize that the objectives are all relatively similar. I mean, if you eat, sleep, and breathe Pokemon, then yeah, you're obviously going to enjoy it. But for everyone else, this new formula might start to wane well before the credits roll. Plus, you cannot progress onto the next part of the map until you've increased your star rank by consistently filling out survey reports. So, if you're not keen on this style of gameplay, then good luck. When it comes to fighting, there aren't many trainers to challenge besides a few scripted battles, and there are absolutely no gyms to be found whatsoever. Yes, I know it's a prequel to Diamond and Pearl, but in all honesty, this is one part of the game that should have been more fleshed out. The lack of gyms is sorely missed, and the series standard low level of difficulty means you'll mop the floor with the majority of scripted encounters. Even with the 3v1 issue I mentioned before, you're still gonna win, although it's just gonna be a train wreck of a victory. But how about the open world themed gameplay? Well, this is much better. It's not a seamless open world by any stretch, as there are loading screens in between the major areas. However, for the first time in the series, the actual trainer themselves can get knocked out and drop items if they take too much damage from wild Pokemon or fall from heights. So of course, there's the obligatory dodge roll, which may or may not seem a little overkill at first. Although it does make sense once you start taking on these unique, quote-unquote, frenzied Pokemon, which are a simple yet cool action RPG addition to the series. As you're walking around the map, the player can throw their Pokemon at distinct trees or outcrops for materials, then craft them into items like potions, smoke bombs, berries, and all sorts of things. And throughout the game, you'll steadily unlock base camps that can be used for fast travel, healing, shopping, changing party members, item management, and more. As well as certain Pokemon that'll help the player quickly traverse the map, reach new areas, or find collectibles hidden to the naked eye, which is tons of fun. Also, some of the side quests are quite varied and actually reward some decent items. Popping balloons while riding wire deer, for instance, is just pure entertainment. Something this game did exponentially better than Final Fantasy X. Yep, that Chocobo minigame can go die in a pit somewhere. And no, I am not sorry. Thank you, moving on. Unlike Final Fantasy X, however, the story of Pokemon Legends Arceus is not very engaging at all. It's pretty much just a bunch of bickering and infighting between the Diamond and Pearl clans purely because they hold different ideologies. The writing simply isn't memorable enough. The plot might be interesting for die-hard Pokemon lore fans, but for everyone else, you'll probably forget what happened the next day. Good thing is that the soundtrack makes the adventure much more hype. There's a clear Breath of the Wild influence here in terms of instrument choice and absence of music, but it still resonates with that iconic Pokemon sound at the end of the day. Some of the battle themes in particular are very easy on the ears and will definitely have your feet tapping along to the beat in the street. That was not supposed to rhyme, I swear. So, should you play Pokemon Legends Arceus? Well, despite the many criticisms I have with this new formula, Pokemon Legends Arceus is still a lot of fun to play. It offers up so many fresh and exciting mechanics for the series, while not straying too far from what the mainline games are all about. As the real-time interaction with Pokemon and the open world design come together in a way that fans have been demanding for years. Even though the survey reporting can become quite tedious after a while, and the lack of gyms or a proper challenge can drag down the overall experience, Pokemon Legends Arceus is a giant leap for the series that anyone can jump into. Guys, make sure you're subscribed if you haven't already, as we release videos like this each and every week. And be sure to check out thebetanetwork.net for my full written review on Pokemon Legends Arceus.